Welcome everyone to Friar Talk. Today we got some trade rumors. Padres are in on multiple potential deals, and they're talking to the Boston Red Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers. So I'm going to start with kind of giving just my overall thoughts on what I think is happening, because we saw that the Red Sox were interested in Ha-seong Kim a while back, like early off season. They ended up trading for Vaughn Grissom. So the rumors kind of die down, nothing happens, right? They got their shortstop, they got their infielder. They're not really interested in Ha-seong Kim. However, we do know that the Padres are interested in Jarren Duran, and kind of goes away. Don't really talk about it. Offseason gets really quiet. Then all of a sudden, the rumors start heating back up, and then the rumors also heat up. Oh, Kinley, they want to trade Kinley Jansen, right? Well, now we're at a part where the Padres start talking, and they're like, it seems that they were trying to trade for Duran. They want to give up prospects, not Kim anymore. They want to do something different. The Red Sox are like, okay, we'll only give you Duran if you eat this contract. Then, as we know, the Padres can't do that. So what happens? They say, okay, we gotta pause. We're not gonna eat his contract. We're not gonna eat Kinley's contract. So then, now where we're at currently, they're talking to the Brewers. They go, all right, Brewers have a kind of a similar molded player. Duran, when he came to the league, wasn't very good, didn't put up good numbers. Last year, he broke out, right? Well, Sal Frelick, he's played his 223 plate appearances last year. That's his first time up. He's been in the top 50 of prospects. He's a left-handed, pretty fast outfielder. That's kind of a defensive first contact hitting outfielder. So what I think has happened is they've kind of went through these trade negotiations. They started with Duran and Kim, and they kind of adjusted. And then the Red Sox made a trade, and the Red Sox are like, oh, we want to eat this money. Doesn't make sense. Now the Padres are at the point where they're interested in Sal Frelick. So that's my take on it. That's what I feel. I'm pretty confident if you kind of tie all the rumors together and see where they're at. But here's the bottom line for the Padres side. They need a left-handed center fielder, which also is interesting because they already traded a left-handed center fielder away. It's kind of a throwaway. Now, did we want Trent Grisham? No, not necessarily. But you do need to fill up a lineup, and they kind of traded him as a toss-in on that, and you didn't really change anything for the deal. So, Chase Isaac, what do you guys think about these trade rumors? Duran or Frelick, whoever you want to talk about, whoever you like, who do you prefer? What do you think makes sense from the Padres side, or I guess for the other sides? What do you think the Padres are giving up in these potential deals? And do you think there's going to be a trade with either the Brewers or the Red Sox? What do you guys think?
I'm not really excited about either of these guys. Like Duran had a really good year last year. Like, much rather go out and just kind of sign hey, we signed a Profar. I think we can find another cheap bat that's a rental and hopefully develop our own talent. I keep saying that over and over again. We have Jackson Merrill who's banging on the door, so hey, let's see what he's got real quick. I know he's been taking reps in center, and hey, look, there's a center fielder, left-handed bat right there. I don't think we need to go and trade some of our prospect capital away for talent. Granted, Duran will have a few years of control. Um, I know it would be they wanted Iriarte and prospects. I know for the Duran deal, they just wanted prospects in particular, and we would keep Kim. It would solidify the lineup a little bit more because you'd have a proven talent. But at the same time, with a guy who like Jackson Merrill, who has kind of done nothing but prove himself over and over again to the Padres, I think it's fair to let him get his shot. I mean, you probably are throwing Profar in left field and potentially first base from what his experience was at the Padres from the last time he played. So let's kind of see how spring training progresses a little bit. And if Merrill doesn't progress the way that you want him, sure, you can go ahead and be like, okay, we don't really like the guys that are on the free agency market. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we got to make a swing for a trade, and hopefully that helps us become more contenders. But at the same time, Iriarte, I believe, is potentially could pitch this season. He had a really good season last year. He's a top 100 prospect. And with some of the Yankees guys, Michael King is coming back from an elbow injury. Randy Vasquez hasn't started a full season. We don't know where Drew Thorpe is going to be in all the mix. And if he can go the whole season without being injured or getting any fatigue, and having Idiarte be kind of that next guy up kind of provides you with a little bit more depth that, granted, the Padres desperately need. We saw that last year. One of the reasons that we struggled was, hey, we had a lack of depth. So when guys got hurt or guys struggled, we didn't really have a next guy up. When X had dealt with his wrist injury, we didn't put him on the IL because who are we going to call up? Merrill was still not readily available. We didn't. Eggy, maybe. Then you just then when the bullpen got hurt, we were even more trouble because hey, guys like Snelling, guys like Iriarte, guys like Buzar, they were still a year or two away. And guess what? The bullpen struggled and we lost a ton of close games because the bullpens couldn't close out or the Padres could not hit with runners in scoring position and score any runs. And that's due to a lack of depth. Why did we lose in what was it? 2022? Partially due to a lack of depth. We actually that was our most in-depth team, and that's why we went the furthest. Let's go back to 2021 with the pitching. How many pitchers got injured right after the All-Star break?
Oh God,
A lot. Did we have any guys to replace them? No. So I think this trade could work out, but at the same time, we would be getting rid of some of our much-needed depth to make this team a lot stronger, and I don't know if it's going to be worth it for a couple years of Duran, who, he broke out last year, but he's going to continue that same success. We mentioned it during the Ha-seong Kim debate video. Guys that come over to the Padres, man, they do not do well in their first year here.
That's true. And they're coming from a different league. They haven't had to play, teams that we play that often. They haven't had to face the pitchers that we're always going to face. And it's going to be a completely different look. Maybe not for Frelick, but for Duran, it's going to be a completely different look. Now, that's not to say I'm opposed to trading for Duran. Of us three, I probably like Duran the most. That's not to say I really like him a lot. I like him, and that's it. I'm not a huge fan of his. If we get him, I'll be excited. I'll be happy. If we don't get him, I'm not going to lose sleep over it, right? Now, the thing with Duran is the problem with the Padres, and this is the thing that's gone back and back, is they always buy high on guys, right? Now, he posted a 2.4 WAR, and I think it was like 117 or 120 games, something like that, something along those lines, maybe 130. Thank you. How many games though? And 362 at bats. Let's say that extrapolates to about. Let's say that rounds out to about 125. I'll say. So I think oh man, he's really hard to evaluate, man, because he's fast. But he doesn't hit for much power. He hit for an 821, 102 games. So he doesn't hit for a lot of power. He hit 8 home runs in 102 games last year, right? Something along those lines. But he had a 121 OPS plus. He had a 295 batting average. He had an 828 OPS. Like his numbers are pretty good. And then you look at his F4 and it's a 2.4, and you're like, okay, well that probably rounds out to about a 3 in a full season. But he's a really good base runner. He's a pretty solid bat. He has 5 years of control. He's not a very good defender. However, Fernando Man's arguably the hardest position to play in the outfield when it comes to Petco Park. So I don't entirely – it just depends, right? Because you're giving up either Iriarte or Zavala, or you're giving up both in the trade for Jarren Duran. And you might even have to take Kenley Jansen. I don't know. Because if you're not willing to take on Kenley Jansen's contract to get Duran – some other team might be willing to take on Kenley Jansen's contract to get Duran, right? So I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work out. I do think the Padres need to make a trade for a center fielder. I don't think there's a very intriguing center field options on the market. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know there's Tommy Pham. Does that get you excited?
We are not throwing Tommy Pham in center.
I don't think Tommy Pham. Yeah, I don't think Tommy Pham is a center fielder, and I don't think he really fits what the Padres need right now either. So I mean, if I'm gonna pick between these two, Duran and Frelick, I'd pick Duran. I think he kind of fits what the Padres need in terms of a really cheap contract for 5 years, and he's kind of still, in the sense, someone that you can develop because he's not fully developed yet. He hasn't played a full season yet. He's kind of in the not exactly like Jake Cronenworth, but Jake Cronenworth was an older prospect. He was barely getting about to be ready for service time, and granted, this guy already has service time. So I mean, I like the idea of adding Duran. I don't know if I like the idea of getting rid of Iriarte and Zavala for him. That's kind of a lot, in my opinion, to give up. But overall, you're looking at a team that, if you do get someone like Duran, you're looking a lot better, right? Profar, Duran, Tatis, Cronenworth, Bogarts, Kim, Machado, Campusano, and whatever DH you sign or trade for. Suddenly, you're looking like a lot deeper of a lineup, and that's a lineup that I honestly think can compete and can hold you in there until the deadline. And at the deadline, you need to go get a pitcher. Yeah, I'm already like set. I already know damn well what the Padres are going to need at the deadline. It's going to be a pitcher. So you just need to hang in there, because realistically, I forgot which one you brought it up. I think it was Chase, but you don't know how many innings you're going to get out of Brito. You don't know how many innings you're going to get out of Vasquez, King. You don't really. I mean, we don't even know if we're going to get major league innings from Thorpe. We don't know what to expect out of this pitching staff, right? There's a lot of needs right now, and I'd say the pitching staff is a worry, but getting a center fielder is a pretty damn big worry as well, because Alzokar and whoever else is going to go out there. Merrill, honestly, I kind of like the idea of Merrill out there for a little bit, right? You try him out in spring training, and if he's not that good, oh well. Like, you knew that wasn't going to be where you wanted him long term, which is fine. You can throw him back in the minors, throw him back in AA, and he'll be fine. But yeah, if I'm going to pick between these guys, I go Durant.
No, that sounds. I think from a how good they are perspective, you want to go Duran. But I don't know if you saw this, Isaac. They made it seem like the asking price is high. Like, they made it seem like they're going to want Merrill, or they're going to want a lot. Because, like, Duran was up there as a prospect. Like, he was rated pretty high at one point. Frelick, he's going to cost a lot less. And he has, I think, an extra year, maybe 2 years. I think 1 year of control. I think he's in pre-arbitration. He's like his first year of that. And, he's going to be cheap. Like, he's not going to cost that much. He might cost you a couple prospects. Is he going to be as good as Duran? Maybe not. But do we even think that Jarren Duran's that good? I don't think he's going to be I pulled up his Savant. It's not that great. Now, Frelick last year, he didn't put up great numbers. I mean, he had 220 plate appearances, so like 100 less, right? He put up a 692 OPS. He had a 246 average, 351 slug. He didn't slug well. He's not a powerful hitter. He's also coming up, and he wasn't, it's his first year. He's a rookie. Like, that's better than, I want to believe, yeah, that's a lot better than what Jarren Duran did in both of his first 2 seasons in the bigs. And he's playing in Fenway. He's playing at a much more hitter-friendly park. So I think that if you're going to move for one, I think that Durant, especially if Kalen Jansen's money is going to be added in this deal, you have to eat that. Like, that makes there right there is like an impasse that you're not going to figure out. You're not going to trade for this dude if you have to go eat money. That makes no sense. But Frelick is not going to cost that much, man. Like, rather go after him, and yeah, maybe it doesn't work out. Okay, not that big of a deal. You're adding. It's not like you're adding. Like, Chase, you're talking about the depth, right, in the farm system. You're not losing that by adding either of these guys. That's the thing I like. It's not like a move that we keep seeing the Padres make where it's like, all right, we got this guy for 2 years, and then he's going to be expensive as expensive as it gets, 20 mil after that. Like, those are the moves that they make, like, when they have typically done that. Even like a Clevenger deal where, like, Clevenger didn't pan out, but it's like, okay, if you had him, you wouldn't have had him for that long until he would have broke the bank if he kept playing well. So I think that's the thing that I like to see with it is, like, I'd rather them go after a guy that's cheap. Like, and I think Frelick is going to be the cheaper option. He plays in the National League, like you said, like you guys brought up about, like, adjusting. He's not going to have that adjustment as much. He's having the adjustment of coming to the bigs. Like, that's a whole different thing. You add a lefty in the lineup. You can hope to develop him. If you don't develop him, okay, is it really that big of a deal if he doesn't pan out? No, because you're not going to give up some crazy amount of prospect capital. Now, it does depend on who you're going to give up. And I think that's where it gets, like, interesting, because it's probably Zavala, right? If you're the Padres, you're probably going to give up Zavala to get either of them in a deal. But if he's the cheaper prospect, he's earlier on, you're kind of in this weird stage, and you end up hitting on him, dude, that's going to be huge. That's going to be massive. And he's kind of just like where they are in stages of their career, he's kind of a similar player to Duran. Like, he is. He probably doesn't have as much upside, I guess, like, in theory, but, like, he's also a pretty phenomenal athlete. I don't know if you guys read into him at all. Like, he played hockey, football, and baseball in high school and was the Gatorade Football Player of the Year. Like, he's kinda done it. He's like a true, like, Boston sports kid. So, like, he's been around sports his whole life, obviously. I know all these guys have, so it doesn't really mean anything, but, like, it's kinda cool, you know? It's like, okay, this guy's done well. He succeeded in pretty much every level. He was really successful in college baseball. Like, he's a guy that could come up and could start and be like, hey, this guy's gonna be our everyday center fielder. If he doesn't work out, we have Azokar. We're gonna trade. We're gonna adjust. But, like, whatever, dude, send it. Like, that's a trade that makes so much sense for where the Padres are at. Is it this, like, oh my God, look, they just, like the 22 deadline? Is it like that? No, it's not gonna feel like that, and no one should expect anything close to that. But it's like, if this dude hits 250, that's 60 batting points higher than Trent Grisham had the last 2 years. Like, is he gonna bring as much pop? No, but he might drive someone in every once in a while. And, like, what's his OPS last year as a rookie, like, never coming up? 690? What was Grish's? Was it 700? I don't think it was. I think he finished at, like, 690. So it's like, okay, that's fine. Like, at where he was as a rookie, not really playing, adjusting to the league, adjusting to, one of, like, the hardest adjustments in pro sports to make from, like, minors to MLB. You're telling me that he was just as good as Grish offensively? All right, sign me up, dude. I'd rather have some more upside, because that makes a whole lot more sense. So I'm sold on trading for a guy like this. It doesn't have to necessarily be Frelick, but, like, if you're not giving up a lot, dude, might as well. If you have the control, like, that's what we've been asking for the Padres to do, more with them developing. But I don't know. I like it overall. So I'm on it, dude. I'm down for the Brewers trade, assuming that they don't want, like, an arm and a leg for him. But I don't think they do. I don't think that's the route that they're going. I don't think he's going to cost as much. So it's like, that trade just makes way more sense, and I think we're seeing the Padres adjust to that side of the deal. So that's my take on it. But any last thoughts over here?
I'm okay with a trade as long as it doesn't give up Iriarte, just because I want that additional depth at right-handed pitcher, just in case anybody gets hurt. But everybody else is on the trade block. That's cool. Just keep him, because he's the closest major league pitcher that we got that's high upside. And obviously, don't give up, like, Lesko or any other top prospect.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, Zavala is really good. That's the thing, is Iriarte and Zavala are both pretty good. You don't want to give up either. You might have to, of course. Now, I don't know who I'd rather give up. I think I'm on Chase's side. I want more starting pitchers. I want to have controllable pitching. Young, controllable pitching is something. Holy crap. I don't remember the last time we had it. I don't think we've had it in my life, if I'm being completely honest. Chris Paddock, that's right. How'd that? He was cool for a minute. And that's the thing we want, right? We want someone that's going to be controllable and it's going to be a good pitcher for a prolonged period of time. We want a pitcher that's young and going to be a number 1 or 2 in our rotation. And I think Iriarte can be something along those lines, if not one of the top bullpen arms. So it would be hard to see him go. I'd rather a bat go than him, considering, you have multiple bats locked up for quite a while. And I mean, it is hard to hit at Petco Park, but you still got Merrill there. Salas is going to be a great bat. DeVries is going to be a good bat. There's quite a few bats that you have in your minor league system. So I don't know, man. It's hard to think, like, which one do we want and choose, because I think there's quite a few downsides with both, and I think that there's upsides with both, right? Frelick is a freak athlete. Both of them are pretty damn fast. They're both. I don't know if Frelick's a good fielder. I know Duran's not that good of a fielder. But yeah, I don't know what to think of what moves we should make. I like Duran more, of course, but yes, Frelick would be cheaper. And the thing with that, I don't know if AJ Preller wants to go the cheap route, because I don't know if he's fighting for his job or not, but he should be managing as if he is fighting for his job, because last year was such a disappointment that, it was very unacceptable what happened last year. And trading Juan Soto at first seemed like, oh, damn, why did we do that? Now, you're kind of hearing more things about he's probably not going to sign an extension if he's offered by the Yankees. He's almost guaranteed to hit the free agent market, yada, yada, yada. And you start thinking, and then you look at the rotation, you see how expensive.
And come back. Don't forget that.
Yeah, he can come back. That's true. You see how expensive some of these arms are that are honestly trash. Sean Manaea going for what? 13, 14? Come on. Some of these guys are going for a lot of money and they're not that good. So with each passing day, you start thinking, hey, maybe this trade wasn't that bad. Maybe it was actually kind of a good trade. And at first, I was thinking that's a trade that could get Preller fired. But now I'm like, okay, like you made the right move. Not that you didn't trade Ted Williams of the modern day, but I understand it. So with each passing day, man, I think we'll see the pieces start coming together. I think this is one of those free agency periods that is going to come around late. The trade market's going to come around late before the season starts because of how expensive people were. But I think coming along soon, and maybe the Padres won't be in it, but I think you'll see Snell go. I think you'll see Bellinger go, and I think it's going to be all in a really, really small time frame.
Yeah, and dude, when we talk about, so we're going to be streaming Sunday night. I'm guessing around like 5 o'clock, something like that. I'll schedule it beforehand. But when we see like that might be around then, Also, I think Chase's computer just died, but we're obviously wrapping up right now. I mean, I think overall, I think it's just an interesting spot where the Padres are at, where it's like they do need to add something. They need to add a few things. But with the Soto trade, like it does still suck. It really does suck. But yeah, final thing I want to bring up. I brought up Grisham's numbers, right? Frelick last year, not that impressive of a rookie year, nothing super special, but it was like pretty solid, right? He had a 692 OPS. He hit 246, right? He is a good fielder. He had 6 runs saved. For reference, Grisham had 7 in a full season. Interesting, right? And Grisham, the last 2 years, last year he hit 198 with a 667 OPS. That's 30 points below or 25 points below and an average of 50 points below, right? The year before, 22, he had the league worst 184 batting average with a 625 OPS. For Sal Frelick to come in and Sal Frelick to come in and us to expect him to be better isn't that far-fetched. Now, the thing is, guys get figured out. Guys struggle when they're young. That's the thing. But if you're just looking at his numbers and can you replicate that season? Can you have a 700 OPS? Can you hit around 240? That would be a big upgrade offensively and potentially defensively as well, because he is pretty similar to Grisham defensively. So overall, dude, I mean, I like it. I'm sold on this kind of trade. And like, it's not like some crazy trade, but it's like, that's the type of stuff that we've been just advocating for the Padres to do. You have your star pieces. Like if Xander Bogaerts bounces back and Jake Cronenworth is decent, all of a sudden you just need to fill in those other parts of the lineup. So if you do that, like they're going to have a chance to compete. That's the thing. Like, is it all the hype in the world like last year was? No, not even close. But they're building a more well-rounded roster. The studs and duds roster in baseball does not work. No, like we're going to keep seeing that over and over and over again. Like, you see good teams, when you run out of pitching, what happens? You lose. Look at the Dodgers last year, right? They ran out of pitching. They were awful. Now, to be fair, to be an advocate, the Diamondbacks also ran out of pitching, and somehow they figured it out. But like when that happens, usually those teams really struggle. And look at the Braves, how deep the Braves have been. They've been good for so long, And like the Phillies, their lineup is so deep, and because of that, they're always good. Like they have so many elite hitters, and then you go down the lineup, like, this guy's still pretty good. Like everyone here is still pretty good. So you got to try to build that way. And I think trading for guys like in this kind of realm, I think that's what you want to do. And so hopefully they do it. They're going to have to clean up a little bit of the farm, and the report basically came out that they're going to do that. So I think we're going to see a trade, whether or not it's Frelick or Duran. Someone's going to get traded, and it's probably going to be a left-handed outfielder that is going to play center field. And the Twins, that's another potential other option you go to. Kepler, of course, is the guy over there. But he's not as much of a center fielder. So I think these guys make a little bit more sense. But I think that's going to do it. Join us Sunday night. We'll be chatting then. We'll be going live. But with that said, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend. See y'all soon.